Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Odious Orations with your host, Joyful Bell. I am joined by my co hosts, Lexi and Stacy. And we're going to be reading for you some very spooky stories. So sit back, relax, and enjoy a snack while we scare you.
Okay, so 2 weeks ago, my family disappeared while hiking. I feel like I'm gonna get scared while reading.
Yeah, that's the idea.
I don't
Two
like
weeks
that.
ago, a family disappeared while hiking. Not my
Well,
family.
as long as it's not my family, I guess it's fine.
Yeah, it's totally fine. It's
I
totally
hope
fine.
I hope they're never found again. Okay, this writer is mean.
Well, let's
Okay,
find out why.
we never expected to find them, the family that went missing. The trails had all been combed over the past week and a half. We were, after all, not experienced hikers ourselves. My sibling Ace and I had never really roughed it, never detoured from the established trails, at least not intentionally. Intentionally. Somewhere in the pines, the official trail markers vanished. Our phones lost their signal, and a narrow track we followed wound upwards along a steady slope through the trees before finally petering out into nothing. We were about to turn back when we spotted, just ahead, a clear, smooth patch of land, with the remnants of a stone circle for a campfire and some discarded soda cans. Ace grumbled and went to collect the cans, only to call out to me that they had found a bright pink backpack, and inside was a notebook with a crumpled paper lunch bag and a sloth plushie. I found a snack for you. Ace tossed me the lunch bag. Dude, that's foul. Touching the bag, I caught a whiff of the rot inside, remnants of a sandwich, now stale and furry, and a mushy apple. I plucked out the mushy apple and flung it at my older sibling, who swore and ducked. Then together we examined the backpack. The same thought must have crossed our minds then. What if the backpack belonged to the family that went missing? We had strayed off the path. What if it was the same way that they came, only they got lost and never found their way back? According to the news, the family, parents Patty and Joel, their daughter Emily, and Patty's brother Mike, all went missing during what was meant to be an overnight backpack trip. Witnesses saw them park their car at the trailhead and hike into the crisscrossing, well-worn trails of the pines. That was over a week ago. Now I squeezed the sloth plushie, its fur matted from being cuddled so long.
Hmm.
Could this have been the daughters? Ace flipped through the notebook and showed me a long-haired stick figure sketch of smelly Uncle Mike. We both smirked and then stopped smiling when flipping to the inside cover revealed a scrawled name, Emily B.
So, heads up. If you ever come upon something like this in the woods, like a kid's backpack in the woods, you need to call someone and let them know you just found a kid's backpack in the woods. It's like finding a wheelchair out in the middle of nowhere. Why? There's something terrible has happened here. Like, Jesus.
Also, if you're ever hiking and you can no longer find the trail markers, walk back the same track until you find the last trail marker you saw. Do not keep walking into the forest. It's a very
Yeah.
bad idea.
Or just, never leave the trail.
Yeah, if you get lost, you're supposed to stay in one spot and call for help. Do not keep walking.
Yes.
It's a very bad idea.
Okay,
Okay.
continue. I'm so sorry.
Emily and her Uncle Mike. Those were the names, right?
True.
I said, chilled. Shit, yeah.
Oh,
Ace turned an eye to the woods around us. We need to let the authorities know.
good on you, Ace.
The afternoon sunlight slanted down on us. There were no other traces of the family around the campsite. They'd clearly packed up and trekked from here, but in which direction? I scoped out the woods, wandering farther out. Something pink fluttered in the distance. Rowan, don't get lost, Ace called. I clambered through the bramble and over the dead leaves and snatched the pink fabric, caught on a fallen trunk. "It's a girl's sweater," I hollered. Nearby, the trail wound up the slope.
I hollered.
I hollered?
I hollered.
Did I say that word?
You did. But it's just funny that they were like, I hollered.
You holler? Okay. I forgot where I was. I found it.
Yes.
Ace's lengthy figure remained rooted far below for several moments. Then they rifled in their bag, wrapped some blue tape around the branch of the campsite, and disappeared farther downwards, probably to mark the trail we'd been following that petered out. Finally, they clambered up to me. I stood waving the pink fabric impatiently. "Don't go running off," began Ace. "Look," I said, the collar of the sweater inside to show the tag. Okay, I thought it was a piece of a sweater. Now they said a sweater.
It's willful suspense.
Okay.
You know?
Look, I turned the collar of the sweater inside out to show the tag, and written on which was written Emily B. "It looks like there's a trail that goes up that way," I added, pointing along the slope. "That's not the way we came from," Ace squinted, up the slope and then back towards the campsite. "We are way off track." They tore another piece of blue tape from the roll and added it to a branch nearby. "We have to find them," I began.
No, you do not. No, you
If
do
you're
not.
not a professional rescuer,
You call
please
the
do not try to
authorities
find
and
someone.
let them find it. You do not have to find shit. You need to stay on the trail and wait. We hollered for them to come wash up for dinner.
Ace, we can't just abandon them. Rowan,
Yes, you can.
Ace's eyebrows drew together. We need to call this in. If we wander off into the woods, we might as well just put ourselves on the missing persons list. Back and forth we argued. I'm the rash, stubborn one. Ace is analytical, equally stubborn one. Ever since we were kids, I was always the dreamer, ready to set sail on some grand adventure. On my wrist, I wore a bracelet reading, "All who wander are not lost."
That's not how that...
Whereas my older sibling...
It's not all who wander are lost, but whatever. It's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah. Whereas my older sibling followed only carefully charted paths, believing only in hard facts and never in airy possibilities. Today, the moment they suspected we were off the trail, they started marking the branches with blue painter's tape and building piles of rocks along the path. After assessing the facts of the situation, they made up their mind. Solid as bedrock. You'd move a mountain before you could move Ace. "But you'd stop a bullet train before you could stop me," I growled. "Think of Emily!" And I pointed into the woods. "She's out there. She needs her sloth. And if we leave, we'll lose all trace of the little girl forever. And I will never forgive you."
Hate me forever. We're not fucking going in the middle of goddamn nowhere for people who might already be dead. And then we can join them.
You know how you can hate me forever?
Correct.
Being alive.
Yeah, you can hate me forever. But you'll be alive. You know?
Guilt tripping your sibling.
God.
I like it. Hesitation on Ace's face. The sun was sinking lower in the afternoon sky, chills starting up my arms, and the rays burning an orange that turned Ace's mop of the brown hair into a golden halo, but darkened their features so I could barely see their scowl. If we were going to find this family before nightfall, we had to start looking now. Ace made a frustrated sound in the back of their throat. Finally, they swore, took out their roll of blue tape, and slammed it into my hand. "This is the stupidest thing that you've ever done, but fine. You do what you're going to do, and I will go call it in, and then come back for you. I'll follow your trail. If you get lost and starve out there and die, I will never ever forgive you. Mark every fucking tree, Rowan."
This is not how we solve this issue at all.
No.
But sure. Fine.
It's not fine.
Why
It's
the
very
fuck
bad.
not? Why the fuck not? So let's go get lost in the
woods.
woods
Story
alone.
if everybody. It wouldn't be a spooky story if everybody made rational decisions.
This is the time where it's okay to break your sibling's ankle.
Yes! And then throw them over your shoulder. Like, bitch, we ain't doing this. Why? Because you're an idiot.
I love you so much, I need to break your ankles.
Love you so much, I need to incapacitate you now.
No. Okay. I will, I promise. I will. My sibling hugged me hard, and they spun on their heels and left. For the record, they shouted over their shoulder, "You are a total moron!"
You both are. For the
I
record.
flipped them the bird. Without even looking back to see this gesture, Ace was already raising their arm to flip me off in return. I turned and scoured the slope above. There. Right there on the well-trodden path winding upwards. I marked it with tape and started hiking. The temperature seemed to drop as I ascended, as if the air up here was thinner.
It is.
Colder.
That's how elevation works. That's how elevation works. Sorry. Don't.
But the trail itself was wide and free of debris. The afternoon sun filtering through the pines dappled the leaf-strewn trail. It was an easy, uneventful climb. So easy I nearly forgot to mark the trees. It seemed pointless with the path being so clear. I only put up tape because I had promised my sibling, making sure that each blue ribbon was in eyeshot of the last. I'd been hiking for about 40 minutes when the path opened up suddenly in front of me, the slope leveling off, and there amidst the trees, a small clear patch. There was a cabin.
Oh, no.
Pink.
No. Wait, no.
Don't like
There's so
cabin.
many movies based on this exact scenario. So many movies based on this exact. I'm
Hiking
so
in
upset.
the woods and you find a cabin.
Upset.
I think there's supposed to be a
I
cabin
played a game about this very shit. You don't go into a cabin that you don't know what's going on. Please excuse my outburst. Please continue.
I mean, you could try.
You
There was a pink
could
thermos
die.
on the front steps.
Sorry.
There was a pink thermos. It's friendly. It's a friendly cabin. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you judging cabins? Oh my god. I rushed over and snatched it up. The surface was covered in stickers of anime characters. I knew it wasn't on the map because Ace had checked the map relentlessly. The moment we realized we were off the trail. Maybe it wasn't there because the map was too old, or because the cabin was privately owned. Or maybe we strayed so far from the path that we hiked and this cabin was in an entirely different area. But none of that would explain why the missing family had found the cabin, entered, and remained missing still. They must still be inside. With that thought, dread ballooned inside me.
Oh, it should, and you should leave now.
If I opened the cabin door, what would I find? Is it superstar Shia LaBeouf? I think it might be.
What? Hello? What do you mean? What
Actual cannibal
what
Shia
question
LaBeouf.
is that? We're
Running for your life from
problematic
Shia
celebrities?
LaBeouf.
Yeah. Ezra Miller's in there too. In case you're wondering. Gal Gadot sitting right there.
Wait, do you not know actual
Who's
cannibal
the
Shia
fourth?
LaBeouf?
Who's the fourth horseman of problematic fuck? Oh, Katy Perry. Katy Perry's there.
Oh, yes. Suddenly, I very badly wished my sibling were with me. I've always been the superstitious one who gets nervous about walking through graveyards at night. Ace never worries about flickering lights or haunted cemeteries or unknown horrors. Ace sees only electrical problems or soil filled with decaying matter. Their fears are always practical: unpaid bills, authoritarian laws, muggings, violence, never ghosts, curses, or whatever was waiting in this cabin. I glanced down at the plush sloth in my hand. Okay, plush sloth is
It's
hard
really
to say.
difficult to say, yeah. I'm glad you were like, yeah, I'll read.
Oh my god!
Because I would be dying.
Ooh, okay. I glanced down at the plush sloth in my hand and the back door and back at the ajar door. The windows were cracked and dark. Grime caked the windows. The steps creaked as I reached for the door. I felt my nose wrinkle and my stomach clench because of the smell. A terrible smell. It came wafting in the air, like garbage and sewage and meat left out to fester. An unbearable chill numbed my arm the moment I gripped the knob. I braced myself and thrust the door open. To my surprise, not only was the cabin brightly lit, but several faces turned towards me. A thin, tired-looking man raised a hand to his lips for silence. "What? Are you Joel?"
What do you mean?
I asked.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What in the fucking Resident Evil 7 is this horse shit?
Okay,
What
I
the fuck
don't
is
think
going
it's
on?
actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf, but I think it might actually be a cannibal.
Yeah, no, this is 100%. Was it Resi 7? Where he went
The
to...
creepy, like, swamp one?
Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know. The man motioned to his lips again more desperately. A woman sat across from him, glared at me, and shook her head. Her mouth had strange markings across her lip, like she drew stitches over them. A little girl next to the woman looked at me anxiously, her eyes widening when she noticed the tattered sloth in my hand. The last person, a long-haired man, seated next to the tired-looking man, did not turn around in his seat or move at all. I could only see the back of his head. All four of them had their hands holding each other on the table, except for the finger that Joel had raised to silence me. He motioned me to sit to the chair
Don't do
on his
that.
left.
Don't do that.
This was so strange. I had so many questions. I came over and pushed the sloth towards the little girl, saying as I sat down, "Are you Emily? People have been..." Shh! Again, the finger to his lips in a stern reprimand, and then the door to the cabin slammed open. I yelped, gasping as a hand gripped mine firmly. Joel had a hold of my arm. He jerked me closer and pointed to himself, to his eyes, and then closed them. I glanced at his wife and his daughter. They already had their eyes squeezed shut. That was all the warning I had before I heard the footsteps. I started to turn my head. His fingers dug into my arm, and I squeezed my eyes closed. Something stepped inside through the open door. Thud, thud, the scuff of footsteps on the wooden slats, and the sound of chuckling. There was something vaguely familiar about the voice. I couldn't place it, but the longer I listened, the more familiar it seemed. Like a word on the tip of my tongue, or a name I couldn't quite remember to a familiar face. The footsteps and soft chuckling grew closer, and there was also something unpleasant with the footsteps. A smell. The waft of something rotten, or maybe body odor? And then a whisper in my left ear, as if lips were just next to my skin. Cold, rotten breath, and it whispered my name.
Oh, God.
It whispered my name? That's bad. I would like that.
Lexe.
Alexa.
Lexe.
Robot. Alexa. I would be dead. You don't even need to do anything else. I've passed away at that.
I would shit myself. That chair I'm sitting in, I wouldn't make a sound. You'd have to replace the chair. Just saying.
Yes. The fingers on my arms tightened in warning. The whispering moved, now at my right ear. Thud, thud. The footsteps moved around the table. I almost opened my eyes to see who or what was in the cabin with us, but instinct told me not to.
Yeah.
Steps circled the room and then receded out the door, which clicked shut. The pressure on my hand eased. I opened my eyes. The first thing I saw was four faces turned towards me, three of them anxious and worried. Joel, his wife Patty, with her lips stitched shut. Oh my God, those stitches were real? And their little daughter Emily. The fourth face, I gasped, and Joel's hand squeezed mine again, hard, reminding me not to speak or scream. Sitting next to Joel was the long-haired man who must have been Uncle Mike. In a worn jean jacket, recognizably the long-haired stick figure drawing from Emily's notebook. But where his eyes would have been, they were gaping bloody sockets, and his mouth was also stitched with black thread. Joel tapped a finger on the table and pointed to the center. For the first time, I saw the words etched in the wood. Speak and be silenced. Look and be blinded. Leave and be bound. And when the last chair is filled, you will be free. My gaze lifted again to Uncle Mike, and then passed across the faces of the other three, looking at me with anguish. I bolted upright, but Joel seized me. Shaking his head fiercely, he jabbed a finger at Emily. At first I thought he was saying, "Don't you dare abandon my daughter." But then I realized he was pointing to her hands. She had not reached to pick up her sloth, despite having looked longingly towards it. I saw the little girl's frightened eyes drift from me to her hands, holding her mother's, and then her other hand on the table. They weren't holding hands. Their hands were nailed to the table. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So, were they like hands together and then nailed through?
I have no idea. I know everything that you do, Lexi.
I don't like this.
I don't like it either.
I want them to leave now. You know, I think you're right. I think be free might mean that they're killed.
Or like nailed to the table. Or nailed to the table. Because that means bound. Your hands are fucking nailed to the table. That's about as bound as it gets without tying you to a chair.
But it said when the last chair is filled, you'll be free. Yes. And I think by be free, he just means
by free. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I got you. I'm tracking. Yeah. Like a steel trap. We're good.
So scary. Okay. All the air left my lungs. I collapsed back into my seat, the wheels of my mind ground to a halt in a panic. Can you hear them outside?
No.
Okay.
Also, don't be reading a scary story and say something like that. What do you mean? Can you hear them outside? Who? What? Outside where? Excuse me?
My toddler's outside the window that is shining on me, so I wanted to make sure you could hear him out the window. Where was I?
All the air left my lungs.
I collapsed back into my seat, the wheels of my mind ground to a halt in a panic. With panic. Impossible was all I kept thinking. Impossible. Terror numbed my brain, blocking all rational thought. Who was keeping them captive? Why? And why did their captor sound so familiar?
They sounded familiar? Since when? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
He said earlier that the chuckling sounded familiar.
Oh, okay. I blacked out from what the fuck?
Words on the tip of his tongue or something like that.
Who's that guy in my background? It's Robin Williams. This guy right here, that's Robin Williams. Put respect on his name. God. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh my God. Actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf.
No!
I will bring it back. Next to me, Joel still held a grip on my arm, but used his other arm to push the sloth to his daughter. She laid her head down on the plush fur. "Thank you," she mouthed to me. I nodded numbly. I couldn't speak, so I carefully freed my arm from Joel's grip and mouthed slowly. "Are there cameras? How is he watching you?" Confusion on Joel's face. I repeated the question, and then started tracing letters on the table. His gaze followed, and he nodded. In this painstaking way, we were able to have a conversation. Who is he? We don't know. How long have you been here? Joel and Patty shrugged, tears from Emily, who only shook her head. Does he always know if you try to leave? More helpless shrugging. Joel eventually conveyed to me that Emily and Uncle Mike were the ones who had spotted the path and found a way to the cabin. It looked dilapidated to Joel, but Emily and Mike had thought they heard someone calling from inside. The whole family entered. When they noticed the writing on the table, they were trying to decipher what it meant when it came inside. Uncle Mike had looked, and it had taken his eyes while he screamed at everyone else to run. Patty took Emily one way while Joel ran the other. Joel had tried to lead the pursuers off, but he had got lost in the woods. Patty and Emily somehow got turned around while fleeing and wound back up at the cabin with it on their heels. They tried to hide inside and barricade the door, but it forced it open, and by the time Joel returned to the cabin and found his wife and daughter with their hands nailed to the table, and his wife with her mouth sewn shut.
Ugh.
Now he traced out the message on the table with a finger mouthing the words, "I can't leave them." I pointed to myself and mouthed the words as I traced back. You don't have to. I'll escape and get help. Joel, but you'll need a distraction to even get out of the cabin. Me, can you distract it long enough to get clear? Joel gave me a pained look. It was obvious he was afraid of bringing more harm to himself and his family. Me, I'll bring help. It's the only way to save Emily. Joel shook his head and sighed, but his wife, who could neither speak nor move her hands, stomped her foot and caught his eye. She gave a fierce nod. Emily looked at me with shining eyes. Thank you for my sloth, she mouthed. Please save us. Joel exhaled and pressed the palm. Blah, 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 blah. I can speak today.
Proud of you.
Yes. Thank you. Joel exhaled and pressed his palms to his eyes. I didn't know if he was scared or just in despair, but he sat like that for a long time. Finally, he turned his head to me and actually shouted, "Run."
What? Why?
booming
Why?
voice-
Why? Why? Why are you gonna get your ass sewn shut?
He's creating a distraction.
Oh.
Creating a distraction. It's rather that
No,
or
wait.
look at him.
But here's the
I'd rather
problem. If you
have my mouth sewn
leave,
shut.
you're bound.
If he catches you. Because remember, Joel also left at the same time
okay.
those two did.
Okay.
But the guy didn't catch him.
I'm tracking. All right.
His booming voice startled me out of my chair. Behind me, the door burst open. Don't look, Joel added as he lunged past me, putting himself between me and the intruder. I didn't know if his eyes were open or not. All I know is he screamed, Emily let out a sob, and I felt my way blindly to the wall, along towards the door. Even as the sinister chuckling passed by my right ear. Joel groaned. There was a loud wham as he was slammed back into his seat, and then a thud, thud, thud of a hammer. I was outside, pulling the door shut behind me. I opened my eyes and bolted for the trees. The sky was a deep purple, just enough light for me to see. How many hours passed? How long ago had the sun set? I ran down the slope. I ran and ran and ran, not even caring which direction. All I thought was, away. My legs and lungs burned as I flew down the slope, stumbling to a halt because in front of me was the cabin. Laughter sounded from inside. The door creaked open. Turning away, I sprinted back into the woods. By now I had a stitch in my side. This time I went upwards. I was still stumbling through the bracken when the chuckling, which had been behind me, was suddenly in front of me. No matter how many times I tried to go deeper into the woods, the laughter of that maddeningly familiar voice kept returning. Too close. hurting me back and sometimes calling my name.
Rowan.
Yep, I hated that. I hated that a lot. Okay. I don't think I'm sane anymore. Nope, I'm okay. That's scary. Why'd you do it like that? No. Okay.
Oh.
Sorry, I'm just trying to be human. I hate scary things. Why did you do this?
It's good times.
Hmm?
Okay.
Okay. And then I was at the cabin again. All the wind gone from my lungs. I'm stuttering now. I can't. Okay. I'm fine. I'm not there. I'm in my house.
Yes.
Everything is fine.
Correct.
And then I was at the cabin again. All the wind gone from my lungs. The voice whispering my name just behind me. No. I rushed inside and slammed the door shut. Joel's hands were nailed to the table. His eyes were squeezed shut. Patty and Emily looked at me with despair. I took my place quickly. Then the door burst open. Thud, thud. Footsteps clunking fast after me. And then that rotted breath wafting into my ear, heavy and close, fingers squeezing into my shoulder. Panicked, flailing, I fought blindly against my assailant's grip. My fist connected with a smack against the skin and bone of the person, was unfazed, the grip tightening stronger than ever, and the thing was laughing in my ear. No! The scream tore from my throat.
Rowan.
Its eerily familiar voice growled in my ear. It didn't sound human, and yet I knew its voice. Familiar in the tune that is familiar when you've forgotten words. A tune like a lullaby. Like I'd known this thing since before I was even born. Born? Oh my god.
Lexi is so
You
stressed
made
out
me
right
so
now.
scared.
This
I'm
is
so
why
scared
we
I
do
can't
this.
use words. I'm gonna cry. It's fine.
There's no crying in horror.
I feel like there's a lot of crying in horror. Okay. Whew.
Let me go.
Okay, where was I? Okay, let me go. I shrieked. I screamed, I spat, I fought with everything I had, but its powerful grip only dug in harder, more painfully, like talons. I felt myself dragged, writhing from my chair, my heels scraping across the floorboards as it hauled me across the cabin floor. Rowan, stop it! It's me, Ace! Suddenly, it was just a voice, a human voice, barking at me over and over as I was hauled down the creaking steps into the dirt. Ace's lanky silhouette leaned over me, their face flushed as they panted with exertion. Gasping, I blinked at my sibling. The sun was so low in the sky that the stars shone through the skeletal branches. Ace? I groaned. Yes, thank fuck, gasped Ace, dropping down into the dirt beside me. Oh, thank fuck. I think you broke my nose. What happened? What happened? Hell if I know. Why were you sitting there, holding hands with rotting corpses? Corpses? I whirled to look back at the cabin. We were in the dirt just below the front steps. The door hung open. Inside was dark. The smell that wafted out made my stomach buck. Ace snatched my arm and pulled me towards the tree. Let's get the fuck away. Very smart, Ace. Ace, you're my favorite character. I love you.
Yeah. Let's let common sense prevail, healthy sense of self-preservation, and
In
get the fuck
love
out.
with Ace. I jerked back
Yeah.
instinctively. But Emily, I said, I was too confused to do much more than cast a quick look behind me as my sibling tugged me to the pines. The cabin looked even more dilapidated than I remembered. The window panes cracked and missing, its roof sagging like it was about to collapse. Through the darkness of the door, I could make out vague shapes, still and solemn, positioned around a table. And then Ace was pulling us into the bramble. I asked why he didn't take the path back down. My older sibling snapped, "There is no path. I was barely able to find your markers." I felt like I was lost between dream and wakefulness, in some sort of strange limbo, while Ace shined their flashlight around, trying desperately to catch the beam on the occasional blue tape wound around branches, or piles of stones or pieces of clothing tied around trees. Apparently, Ace had supplemented my trail with their socks, headband, and other items from their pack. Even so, it was harrowing to find our way through the darkening twilight. We reached the campsite just as the pitch black descended. "Are the police coming?" I asked. "No," Ace said, still had a hold of my hand, as if afraid to let go. I didn't get very far before I decided that I'd rather die being stupid with you than go for help and risk losing you. Oh, so there were no authorities looking for us. We built a small fire and huddled together to wait for dawn, while Ace told me slowly, haltingly, what they had seen. They'd followed my blue tape trail to the cabin, found me sitting at a table with my eyes squeezed shut. When I didn't react to my name being called, they noticed the family appeared to have simply died while sitting around the table, holding hands. I was holding their hands too. It had freaked them out. When they had saw one of the family had no eyes, and that the eyes had been wrenched out, and one of the eyeballs was held in a free hand. Whose hand? I'm
I think his
confused.
own.
They saw that one of the family had no eyes, that the eyes had been wrenched out, and one of the eyeballs was held in a free hand.
Yes.
The man had apparently plucked out his own eyes. Oh.
Ugh.
Between this and the reek of decomposition, Ace rushed out and threw up. When they stopped being sick, they came back inside to get me. I came bursting past them and ran and ran and ran. They chased me around the cabin 2 or 3 times before they found me sitting back in the chair holding hands. That's when they grabbed me, and I punched them in the nose. "Oh," I said quietly, and then, dreading the answer, "Did you see anything on the table?" Ace was silent for a long time, before grunting, "Yeah, something about when the last chair is filled?" It was freaky as shit because all the chairs were filled except the last one. A strange bubble laughed in their throat. I almost felt like sitting down. A weird impulse. Thank God you didn't, I thought. It was Ace's total lack of imagination and their dismissal of the thought as nonsensical that probably saved them and me. We waited until the sky turned gray, and when we finally staggered to our feet and found our way to the deer trail and back to civilization, where we reported finding the missing family. But the family is still missing. The authorities got as far as the campsite before being unable to follow our markers. They are still there, their spirits trapped in that cabin, nailed for eternity, for as long as their souls will have to wait, waiting for me to bring help. I'm sure I could find a way, but I'm too afraid. I don't know what will happen if that last chair is filled. I know something will change, but the thought of that happening fills me with the deepest, most terrible dread. If I tell you where to look, will you go save Emily? You wouldn't be stuck forever, I don't think. When the last chair is filled, you'll be free.
Well, that was a good one. I liked that. That was crazy.
I definitely got scared. I did not like that. I got stuttering, and I was really quiet. I didn't like it.
No, but you did a very good job after you collected yourself.
It took me a
Pookie's
while for my
Papoopy.
hysterical laughter. Jesus.
Has your husband been standing still? The woman at the door said her husband was inside my home. She was agitated and ran her fingers through her unwashed hair. You have the wrong address. It's just me, I said, then lied. And my boyfriend is here. Yeah, side note, don't ever tell someone that you're alone. If you are at home and someone you don't know knocks on your door, don't be like, yeah, it's just me. All on my lonesome. Do I have a dog? No, I don't have a dog. Why do you ask? Don't fucking tell people that. Anywho, you have the wrong address. It's just me, I said, then lied. And my boyfriend's here. No, please, just listen to me, she said, placing a hand on the door frame and leaning in toward me. I said I couldn't help her, said again she had the wrong address, then shut the door. But I could still hear her. I don't know what he'll do. Let me in, let me find him, she said, her muffled voice sharpening while her palm drummed on the door. He stands still. I froze in the entryway and waited full minutes after it sounded like she had left, in case her ear was pressed to the door. I didn't give much thought to her husband at first. There was something off about her, how she tried to talk so calmly, even though it was obvious she was coiled tight enough to snap. She kept floating on her toes, looking into the apartment behind me. But she also didn't seem outcast or even neglected, really. Her cashmere sweater and tapered pants told a different story. So I searched my apartment with the crowbar I kept under the sheets in the linen closet. Why would you keep it next to your bed, girl? What the fuck?
Crowbar's a hard thing to get out from under your bed.
What are you gonna go to? Excuse me, stop robbing me for a second. I have to go to my linen closet. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Crowbar in the linen closet, but a knife by the bed, and then you can use the knife to get to the crowbar.
Or you can be like me and have a Mossberg next to your bed. For those of you following along at home, a Mossberg is a type of shotgun. It has the safety on, don't worry. But no one fuck with me. Anyway, so I searched my apartment with the crowbar I kept under the sheets in the linen closet. No one was in the front rooms with their windows facing the street. I had been there all day, so it was impossible for anyone to have broken in that way. Then I remembered the old dumbwaiter shaft. Okay. It was behind the kitchen door, shut behind a hinged metal slab. To keep noise from bleeding between apartments, it was no longer an open shaft, but a dusty compartment used as a pass-through for cables. It's quite a large pass-through, but whatever. I brought along my biggest chef knife. There you go, Lexi. From the drawer across from the refrigerator. The steel panel was painted the same color as the wall and had no handle or latch. Instead, there was a small, jagged hole punched in one side with several drill bit plunges. I dug a screwdriver out of the junk drawer and tried to pry it open with a single jerk, so I could step back and hold out the blade in my other hand. Instead, it swung open with a painfully slow creak, and I dropped the knife, scaring myself even more when it clattered to my feet. Without thinking, I bent down to pick it up. Kneeling on the floor, I imagined a pale hand reaching out into my hair and skull. But when I stood up and looked inside, there was nothing there. Just the dark. It was empty. When I left the kitchen and crossed by the front door again, I saw that the woman had shoved a piece of paper in my door like a takeout menu. It was a torn envelope, like something crumpled from the trash, and had written on it the words, "Listen, please." Then I heard her whisper from low down on the door, even below where I had kneeled to pull at the scrap of paper. "The first time my husband was around the corner from our French doors, in the hollow where my desk meets the printer cabinet. He must have been there all morning. He was standing straight up like a sunflower, but I didn't see him until I got up from the desk and bumped my ankle. When I looked up, suddenly he was there, staring at nothing. The second time, he was behind an all-glass display case in our entryway, pinched between a pane in the wall just inside the front door. The whispering stopped, and I was barely breathing. I was kneeling, and my knees were beginning to get sore. "Are you still there?" the whispered voice asked. I didn't answer. "He's gotten really skinny and goes through tubes of high SPF sunscreen whenever he's..." I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Skin of a killer, Bella.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm imagining Pillsbury Doughboy White
That-
at this point.
It's just so funny to think of someone being like, listen to all this terrible shit he does, and he uses high SPF. He can't keep getting away with it.
Next, she'll say he sniffs aloe.
Why would you use... That is such a weird fucking sentence. Okay. I'm so... all right. My husband is pretending to be a lamp in the corner of the room.
It could just be his king. She's king shaming at this point. That's so rude.
Hey, don't let me yuck your yum. Okay, sorry. Okay. I don't know if I can get through this sentence. Okay.
Why did I get the spooky one and you get the funny spooky one? It's so rude.
I think it's meant to be spooky, but the way this sentence reads is just amazing. Okay. He's literally cosplaying as a fucking floor lamp. Stop.
Nosferatu.
He's just flicking the light
nails really
in
long.
the corner. Are you fucking Nosferatu? Get out of there. Okay. Alright, let's listen to a description of a man cosplaying as a fucking floor lamp, shall we? Okay. I can do this. He's gotten really skinny and goes through tubes of high SP.
You can't do it.
I'm a professional, okay? I got this. And goes through tubes of high SPF sunscreen whenever he is called out to his site. So now he's white as an electric socket. He can suppress his presence and take away your intuitive sense that another person is nearby. He's practicing. He's getting better, and he knows where your eyes land and the spaces they slide over. Bro is literally a fucking floor lamp. I'm sorry. Like, I'm being such a dick. Let me not. Okay. Go away! I screamed before retreating to the farthest corner of my apartment away from the front door. It took me a while to calm down with some TV and all the lights on. I didn't pay... He's pretending to be a floor lamp. There's your first mistake. Sorry. I can't let it go. I'm so sorry.
Just imagine he has like a string, like Salte.
He doesn't actually light anything up. It's just skin is so bright that they're like, oh God. Do you use high SPF sunscreen? Tubes of it? All right. I didn't pay attention to the show, but told myself that the woman at the door had a mental illness and the persecution complex and a persecution complex, and she wanted to pull me into her delusion. I crept to the window and peered into the park across the street from my house. It was small and mostly mown. Okay. It was small and mostly mown with a picnic pavilion and a swing set. But right across from me was a shock of forest rising up, curling and unwanted. The sun was still up, but low enough for this thicket to be dark on its own, in its own shadows. I looked for her there, expecting I don't know what. 2 red eyes? I didn't see her. And opened the blinds fully. A few families were playing volleyball down at the farthest end of the park, but it was otherwise empty. Then I caught the blue light of an e-cig. Jesus fucking Christ. It was her seated in the shadowed beach chair with her legs stacked casually in front of her. I could barely see her face, but it looked as if she was staring into my windows. I debated whether to go out to confront her. No. But when I turned around, I saw her husband. How do you know it's her husband? It's just a random person in the house. How do you know this
Strange man
person?
in your house.
I didn't scream. My throat snapped shut on my breath. Through the kitchen doorway across the room, I could see my dishwasher and him standing next to it, one leg against the fridge. Click, click. He wasn't standing straight, but bent forward at a right angle, his back aligned with the marble countertop.
He's just bent over your stomach for no reason.
Oh, he's doing interpretive dance in my kitchen. Hello, 911? Just telephone
Just
the
like-
police.
Don't take advantage of me. Weird neighbor.
Hey, you need an oven? This one's warm. Like, come on, dude. Get out of my kitchen. Go cosplay a lamp somewhere else.
I told you it was a king thing. I told you.
I'm so sorry. It's supposed to be scary, but fuck, man. He wasn't standing straight, but bent forward at a right angle, his back aligned with the marble countertop. One arm was pinned against his thigh, the other down, then the wrist up, with fingers out at odd angles. So he's just like jazz hands in your fucking...
He's bent back at a right angle?
Yeah. So, sounds like he's like, sup, dog?
Forward.
I thought it said his back was in line.
So
Is
he's...
The counter.
He was, his back, so he's bent down, so his back is lined up with the countertop.
Okay. Not laying
not
on the
touching.
countertop.
In line. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes more sense.
He's a Phasmo character. Yeah. He's literally... This is a shade. This is a shade. A shade from Phaz. I'm not touching you. Anyway. Okay. Wrist up with fingers out at odd angles. Jesse. His face pointed forward, aligned atop his body like a bullet on a shell casing, in a shell casing, with his eyes aimed to one side of me and far away. He wore an expression of rapture on a pale face. His lips were glittering red. Oh, he fabulous.
They're glittering. Oh no.
These are
It
the lips
started.
of a killer,
It's
Bella.
Transformation. It's almost complete.
He didn't move or react and showed no signs of being detected, but I still expected those eyes to swivel and land on me. I didn't feel I could move or look away until it did. I forced myself to clap, then wave my arms, but there was no reaction. How is that your first... Whatever. You! I said, Sir! You need to leave! You need to leave! He didn't react. It wasn't just as if he was ignoring me. There wasn't a tremor or breath. He stayed so still, it was as if the whole world had frozen. I called 911, of course. The operator urged me to get out of the house as quickly as possible. I stayed on the line with the operator, but there was nothing left to say. My only way out was past him. Acid filled my stomach. There was no way I could cross that room. I considered tossing something at him or attacking him, but there's nothing more dangerous than a TV remote nearby.
TV remotes can do some damage. I'm just saying.
Just the operator said something about officers on the way, and my phone slipped from my hand in my rush to bring it back to my ear. My eyes never dropped from the husband. From the husband, who didn't flinch when my phone crunched on impact, then clattered across the floor and under the couch. I lowered myself to my hands and knees and considered crawling over and reaching under until I realized it would put him out of sight. It was better to escape. Maybe I could crawl by him without touching him and he'll stay frozen. Or would he just grab me when I got close? I didn't have a choice.
You did.
You do?
He's in your kitchen.
Stab. At the threshold between hardwood and tile, I looked down at my hands on the floor, and when I looked up, he was gone. But it was only for an instant, because suddenly I could see him again, just in front of me. He hadn't moved. My eyes had let him go and struggled to find him again, like he wasn't where I had expected, or if I had somehow forgotten him. The arms holding me up shook so violently that I pitched forward, landing on the side of my face with a smack. I landed right at his feet, but didn't touch him. Pushing back on the heels of my hands, I rolled backwards and slammed into the cabinet behind me, hard enough that I heard the fiberboard crack inside the door. I could crawl by him now, but first watched him for any signs of movement. He was in a khaki t-shirt that didn't quite match the wood cabinet. What are you wearing? Khakis. Jake from State Farm. She sounds ugly. What are you wearing? Khakis.
Khakis.
Okay. He was in a khaki t-shirt that didn't quite match the wood cabinetry or stand out from the white refrigerator at his back. Nor were his dark pants much of a match for the brushed chrome of the dishwasher. Though I could see he had a sliver of something shimmery silver, like a lanyard loop, hanging out from his pocket. I don't know how he could have disappeared from my sight, but he didn't seem to notice me. I strained to keep an eye on him over my shoulders as I crawled past, but I couldn't move slowly any longer. I scrambled to my feet, tumbling into a standing position, then into a headlong run where I couldn't tell my heartbeats from the pounding feet on the floor. After struggling with the lock, I finally squeezed through my front door and shut it behind me without looking back. The police came, searched my apartment, found no one. I tried to explain that he might still be there, that they just hadn't seen him. But they wouldn't come back in with me. They wouldn't search the park either. They were annoyed I wouldn't go back inside, but eventually left. I didn't have my phone, and I didn't know where to go. It's under your couch. Go get it from under your couch.
She didn't want to go back inside.
She should have gotten it before she... Anyway. I'm irritated by this girl. I didn't have my phone and didn't know where to go. So I wandered out of my building in a daze. It was dark out now, but the night air felt good. I saw a car double parked but didn't pay any attention until the woman pushed open the passenger side door from the driver's seat and waved me over. I'd be embarrassed to describe the horrible things I said to her, but she was calm and composed. She knew how to handle her husband standing still, and was nothing like the woman who first confronted me on my doorstep. I don't want to give her real name, so I'll call her Flora. I'll teach you to see him, was the first thing Flora told me, once I was able to listen. I didn't want to see him, or to go anywhere with this person, but I didn't know what else to do. She drove me far outside the city, until I could see stars over a sprawling suburbs. Somewhere near the highway, where duplex condos faded into industrial parks, she turned into a multi-acre construction site. It was all blonde dirt, scraped and marked by bulldozer treads. At the center was a cinder block frame that might one day grow into a big box store. Like it's a plant seed? Jesus. She turned off her headlights, and suddenly the feeling I had ignored, in favor of serene understanding of my situation, could no longer be ignored. I was struck dumb with fear, my sore muscles protesting at being called back to alert. Had I met a couple working together? Well, that probably should have been a first fucking thing you thought of. But she kept talking reasonably, kept her instructions simple, and I found no moment to protest. Instead, I followed her, even let her take me by my hand to pull me in a circuitous path out into the center of the standing blocks. She laid out a picnic blanket and urged me to lay on my back next to her with a friendly pat. Inside, I was screaming. We're in the middle of one of the dimmer meteor showers that doesn't get headlines, she said. But we can see one every few minutes if we know how to look. Men who stand still, she told me, can't be searched out like a bird among branches or a face in the crowd. That is a search for specificity. Even if you could live in a state of constant scrutiny where every pixel of reality is examined, you would not often find these unmoving men. They slip into your scotoma? What the fuck is that? Like your eyesight?
No idea.
That sounds like a euphemism. Anyway.
I googled.
Yeah, what's a scotoma?
Scotoma, also known as a blind spot. It's your blind spot in your vision.
Okay. They slip into your scotoma and escape your attention because they are no longer objects to be found. Ooh, it's like the little squiggly that you see in the corner of your eye, you know? And whenever
Then
you
you
look
try
at
to
it,
focus on it and you can't.
and you can't. It just scoots. Okay, so that's a scotoma because they are no longer objects to be found. There was one, she said, pointing to a part of the sky. Did you see that one? I hadn't. Because you were darting around looking for shooting stars, she said, instead of looking at the surface of reality. Her husband had receded into the sky of our day-to-day existence, she said. When standing still, he wasn't an object to be found in space, but had shut down every part of himself to become permanent. She taught me to make my eyes flat and search with an idea of what I wanted to see. To see them, you can no longer want anything from the sky, she said. You have to deaden yourself to know what surrounds you. I laughed when I saw the first shooting star and forgot about my terrible day. Then there was another and another. Now, please don't be afraid, she said, sitting up and placing her hand on my goose-pimpled forearm. I looked around with my meteor eyes. There were men standing in strange shapes, pressed against the cinder blocks, and standing in the mud at bent angles, and even across the street, holding themselves straight. I see them everywhere now, she whispered. There are so many of them standing still.
Is this like a cult of men that just do this? Like golf buddies, but we're standing buddies?
I have questions. I have so many questions.
I wonder if there's like wife of a standing man support group.
Probably. Dude, that SPF line. Ooh.
See, that's how you know. That's how you know that they're going to be standing.
That's how you know. If he uses SPF 50 or above,
Why?
get the fuck out. He's gone.
Is it because he stands still outside? Why does he need the SPF if he's standing inside pretending to be furniture?
I'm reading through the comments, and one of them says, "Don't worry about them. They've just mastered the ability of standing so perfectly still they become invisible, like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy."
Saturday said this
Honestly,
reads like a Junji Ito story. Yeah, this is like.
I think I read like the first paragraph, and then I saw that it had like 6.5 or 6.3k upvotes on it, and I was like, oh, it must be good, and I don't have time to finish it, so there we go. Add it to the list.
Oh no, it's good.
It's
but
great.
Like,
it's just what the hell?
It's good in the way that it gave me immense entertainment. Just not
like
as the author intended.
It's like eating really greasy chili fries. It
Not
doesn't
even
feel
that.
good, but also it's really good.
It's the kind of satisfaction you get from watching like an alpha male dating advice dude on TikTok, but like he has no teeth, you know? He has no teeth. He's he looks like he smells. You know what I'm saying? Like, he thinks he's killing it. But you're like, this is the funniest fucking shit I have ever seen. That is the vibe that I get. This is Drax. This is, if Drax tried to write a fucking story, this right here. It sounds like this man's
I feel
only...
like I'm getting more enjoyment out of the comments too. Makes me wonder how these guys can afford to just stand still like that. Like, in this economy?
Also, what is the threat?
That they're just around you, I guess.
Yeah,
I mean,
what
they're
is
not
the threat
doing
in this?
anything.
They just, like, they're pretending to be a lamp or I don't know, a dishwasher. Like, what?
Like, if you
what's
look at
the
it
threat?
like this, you know those illusion posters where you have to unfocus your eyes and then you can see the image?
Yes, I hate those fucking things.
Imagine walking through your life, seeing things, just random people just standing. Because you have now unfocused your eyes and you see all these things that nobody else sees.
Need dead people. One of the comments is, what do they want/do? And the author says, I'm terrified of the day we learn the answer to that question. I would like to know the answer to that question right the fuck now. What is the... Yeah, but why are they still? What happened to make them all be still? Do they eat? Are they dangerous? Why? I wish I knew, but they're not telling. As for eating, it's possible they live part of their lives normally? ? I can't be sure, but I haven't noticed any who are in the same place from day to day. Dog, get out of the fucking comment section. Like, already.
Yeah, if you're not going to do an update story, don't be in the comments of your story.
Already. Also, don't completely dismantle what little plot you had. He's just standing there, menacingly. What is the threat? Like, scary stories need to have... Like, it would be disturbing to see a man just, like, in my kitchen, be like, hey, dog, the fuck are you doing? Like, are you now, like, can you, like, grab his hips and use them as, like, a fucking, you know, those cart things for tea time? Can we make
I thought
use?
it was gonna get scary when she looked away, and I was like, oh, she's not gonna find him. He's gonna be gone. And then she's like, and then I saw him. He was still there, and I was like, oh.
Again, this man's...
Well,
Again, the worst crime this man committed was he goes through tubes of high SPF sunscreen whenever he's called out to a site. What site?
I mean, if that's a crime, I am also very guilty.
Like,
how did he get into her house? And how did his wife know that he was there?
Yeah, why?
Also,
He was in there.
If he's not hurting anyone, why do we care? Why do we care?
We're worried about the wife whispering under the door creepy nonsense.
That's the only part of it that was, like, mildly disturbing, that she's, like, whispering through the mail slot. You know? Like, go away, you scary ass
She's
bitch.
like, look out for my husband. He's gonna make sure you don't tan in the slightest.
Yeah. If he puts a hand on you, you'll never see the light. That part of your skin will never see sun again. UV rays will never penetrate your skin again. Watch out. Like, yeah. That, I mean...
Is it because she had white walls? Is he just going to her house because the walls are white and he can blend in?
I feel like he doesn't hurt anyone. So if I were walking into my kitchen and saw a dude like this, and I know he's not going to hurt me, I'll be like, sup, Jeff? How you doing? Good to see you. How's the wife? How's the kids?
Sits on the man. Doesn't notice.
Oh, you're pulling overtime this week? Crazy. Thank you so much for haunting my house, you living person who is a failed mime. You are essentially a failed mime in my kitchen. Anyway, that was.
I wonder if you could get paid for that.
I
Just
like
paid to haunt a house for someone.
I'm sure. If you can think of it, there's someone out there doing it. Like, and that doesn't just count for depraved shit. It's random shit too. But anyway, thank you so much for joining us on this slightly spoopy episode of Odious Orations. The first story was good.
Slightly, I was terrified in the first
Second
one.
story was also on the first story. I wish they could have expanded upon it more. Like, that would be such an interesting concept, and I wish that there was like a more
I kind of like
concrete way for me to understand how she got out of that house. Like, the ending is fantastic. Like, I really like the way they set it up. You could see, in your mind's eye what the cabin looked like, what everyone's movements looked like. She was making sufficiently the kid was making sufficiently stupid decisions, as one does in a horror story / movie. I really wish they could have, that would be a really good story, like a longer short story. You know what I mean? Like, a longer short story would have been so much better. Like, more of a struggle to understand what's going on, The second one, that is a thing. But, I mean, if you're afraid of statues, this is the scariest shit you've ever seen. Or a proper sunblock, scariest shit you've ever heard. But, again, thank you so much for joining us for Odious Orations. I will see you in the next Odious Oration episode. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, Friday on Twitch at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Fridays. But if you like this, you like the stories, you like our commentary, you like any of the absolute mayhem that happened here today, go ahead and leave me a comment down below. Tell me, which one did you like? Which one did you hate? Also, why was it number 2? I love your faces so much, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye!